One and Done, an instrumental case study of administrative turnover in a private Christian school. Hi, my name is Vanessa Mininger, and I am presenting my research as part of the Summer 2022 class at Baylor University in conjunction with my faculty advisor, Dr. Sarah Pratt. At Baylor, students investigate problems of practice revolving around issues they are passionate about. As a former educator in private Christian schools, I was puzzled by the high turnover the school I had been working at was experiencing. While conducting my literature review, I came upon some startling statistics regarding administrative turnover. According to Truss's 2019 study, 25% of public school administrators in California leave after just 1 year. A study done by the Association of Christian Schools International found that 46% of private Christian school administrators worldwide had been in their position for less than 5 years. This means that within the last 5 years, nearly half of Christian schools have experienced administrative turnover. The average cost to replace an administrator is $25,000. Some studies found that this cost was closer to $75,000, others found it slightly lower. While this was not an exorbitant amount, it certainly is a cost schools would want to avoid if they can. These statistics alone are enough to examine why we are seeing such high turnover in administrators, but these numbers pale in comparison to the school in which the instrumental case study was conducted. This school, located in Central California, has had a total of 14 different administrators in the top 3 administrative roles within the last decade. It is important to note that the school switched administrative structures multiple times over the course of the last 10 years, starting with a single principal, then moving to a head of school model with 2 campus administrators, before moving to a board-run structure with campus administrators. While this case is not applicable to all Christian schools, it is also not unique. According to a 2019 study conducted by the Association of Christian Schools International, 30% of private Christian school administrators were fired in 2019. This was a very interesting finding, and one that the organization conducting the study wondered what the impetus was for such a high number of terminations. During the course of my literature review, I came across a number of themes. The previous studies revolved around trends in administrative turnover in both the public and private sectors. These included salary, years of experience, low school achievement, training and support, stress, and systems of governance. Many of these became factors that ultimately pushed administrators to leave. Recognizing that not all turnover is due to administrators leaving voluntarily, reasons for termination included failed leadership, outlandish behavior, and interpersonal strife. The factors that encouraged retention were higher performing schools, financial security, autonomy, and a positive work-life balance. At the conclusion of my research of the literature, I determined a theoretical framework from which to build my research. The theoretical framework for my research came from Farley Ripple, Raphael, and Welch's study on administrative career paths and decision processes. In this framework, they looked at the factors outside of personal, behavioral, and environmental factors that either push administrators to leave or pull them away. They posited that while administrators' decisions to leave are often self-initiated, external factors at play determine their longevity in the position. They listed these factors as falling into 5 distinct categories: recruiting or tapping, requesting, reassigning, passing over, and removing. Based on this theory, I postulated that there are common factors amongst the 6 different administrators that either pushed them to leave or pulled them out after only a year. To conduct my research, I chose an instrumental case study. In this type of case study, issues are dominant, meaning that a particular case is examined to provide insight into an issue. When drafting the research question, this type of research indicates there is not a problem with the people, but with the systems in place. For this reason, my research question focused on the participants' experiences. To collect my data, I first determined the site. I chose this site due to the high administrative turnover over the last 10 years since its inception in 2012, and my relationship with the school as a former teacher and administrator. When I began my research in 2019, there had only been 10 administrators, including myself. 1 passed away shortly after starting the school, 2 declined to participate, and 1 did not respond. 2 more administrators left the position after I concluded my research in August of 2021, and now there are 2 new administrators for the 2021-2022 school year. I conducted interviews with 5 of the participants after writing down my own experiences as an administrator so as not to be influenced by their responses. Each interview lasted around an hour and a half to 2 hours and was unstructured to allow participants to freely share their experiences without influencing their responses by asking targeted questions. I also conducted a review of participants' curriculum vitae to see if they normally only worked in positions for a year or 2, or if this position was an anomaly. After conducting each interview, I began the data analysis process. I transcribed each of the interviews verbatim, making note of changes in pitch, volume, or mannerisms that may convey nonverbal cues. From there, I created a codebook using keywords from the interviews, the theoretical framework, and literature review. I sifted through the data, keeping only that which would be instrumental to understanding the data. From this, I created themes using axial coding. I created word clouds, charts, and graphs of the most common words and themes from the interviews. I then began to interpret the results before sending them back to the participants for validation. 2 main themes emerged from my research. The first theme was in regard to how the board impacts administrative attrition rates. The second was a hidden curriculum. The first finding regarding how the board impacted administrative attrition rates revolved around a lack of proper board organization. Participants frequently mentioned improper communication channels in which singular board members would approach them to make requests that were not in line with the board or school policies or procedures. A second finding revolved around assumptions. 2 participants relayed experiences when assumptions were made that negatively affected their employment with the school. The third was a lack of clarity and focus. 3 participants described their frustration with a lack of clarity on school policies and procedures and felt that the school was straying from its stated mission and vision. The second finding was consistent overstepping. Each participant described a time when they felt the board overstepped in their roles, either as an individual board member or as a whole. This lack of autonomy and authority was consistent across each of the participants. The second theme revolved around the idea of a hidden curriculum. While this is a relatively new term, it is not a new practice. My research uncovered 4 distinct categories of the hidden curriculum. The first was purpose. As one participant pointed out, this Christian school needs to decide what it is and what its purpose is. Is it a castle with a moat around it so kids can be protected, or is it a place that allows them to experience things that are out in the world in a safe environment? The second was of parent expectations. Because parents are paying tuition, there is this untold expectation that they have the final say in everything from grades to consequences. Each of the participants had experiences in which they either did not give a consequence or lessened a consequence for a student due to who a parent was, either a board member or a major donor. The third facet of the hidden curriculum was that of education. While there is research that supports the higher level of education students obtain in private schools, what is not discussed is that many teachers do not have credentials or even a background in education. Participants felt there was no differentiation going on for students, and unless students fit the mold, they did not last long at the school. One participant mentioned that they felt parents valued their child not being in a public school more than the education they received. The final facet was that of teacher happiness. Teachers being happy was stated as a board priority to one participant. In this situation, that meant not challenging teachers, letting them do whatever they wanted in their classrooms, and not giving consequences when teachers failed to do their jobs. One participant described a time when a teacher refused to participate in professional development and noted that if they worked in a public school, they would have been terminated for insubordination. But at this school, they were allowed to keep working and even renewed for 2 more years. The implications of my research are twofold. First, I determined that the structure and governance policies of the board are the highest contributing factor to why administrators are leaving in such rapid succession. The second is that the hidden curriculum is negatively impacting the social climate of this school and that it starts at the board level. If this school wants to stop the high rate of turnover, They need to restructure the board and address the hidden curriculum issues that are leading to such high attrition rates at the administrative level. To distribute my findings, I have offered to present them to the local private Christian school for their review. I have also been asked to submit my findings to the Association of Christian Schools International for publication in their fall research brief. I also plan to present my findings at the Global Leadership Conference next spring. Private Christian education is experiencing real growth as parents become disillusioned with the public school system. Now is the time to make lasting changes to school governance to create a place where every child feels welcomed and treated equally. I believe in Christian education and its place in our educational system. I also believe there's room for change. I hope to bring that change by educating school boards on what it means to lead. Thank you for your time and attention. This is a list of my selected references if you would like to do additional research.